You know, the very term Mashiach, if you rearrange the letters, you can get this word Sameach. And what is that? Mashiach, Sameach. It's Messiah brings laughter, he brings rejoicing into the world. Right? I can do all things through Messiah who gives me strength. How do you have strength? Well, you have to have the joy of the Lord. You know, somebody that you're talking to doesn't have joy. They don't have a sense of I'm not saying that we have to put on a facade, but there are some people that you just talk to, they have a sense of joy about them. You enjoy being around them. You enjoy talking to them. And sometimes, you talk to some people that claim to be believers and they never have a sense of joy and they're always bitter, and you kind of wonder, do they really truly know the Lord? The joy of the Lord is your strength. But how do you have joy? What does Psalm 16 say about it? Psalm 16:11. You pull that up, Sam. You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is the fullness of joy. At your right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. So how do you have strength? You got to have joy. How are you going to have joy? You got to be in the presence of God. You got to be in the presence of God. And how are you going to do that in this life? How are you going to do that in this life? There's nothing new that I'm going to tell you. I think of two ways that are very practical. First, you have to be committed to the Word of God. You have to be committed to a daily dose of Torah. You have to be committed to a daily dose of spending time in the prophets. You have to be committed to a daily dose of spending time in the Psalms and in the Proverbs. A daily dose of spending time in the Gospels and in the epistles. In the book of Revelation, we have to be committed to the Word of God and taking that practice and taking a time in the day to set aside when you can have some time alone with the Lord to just spend some time in His Word. And there's different reading plans that you can get, and we talk about this, and we've had this as a congregation. Again, in Messianic Jewish practice, we have a beauty of the Torah portion, right? Each week we go through the Torah portion, and then there's a section from the Haftorah, and there's a section from the New Testament. You can just simply follow that. If you just simply followed the public reading cycle, you would have most of the Bible, almost 2/3 of the Bible read in a year, just by following the public reading that we use here in the congregation. But you get into God's presence by spending time in His Word. The psalmist cries out, "Thy word I've hidden in my heart, that I may not sin against you." And you can look at the entirety of Psalm 119. It's a discourse on the value and the beauty of the Word of God. Are you spending time in the Word? Is the question. Think of a pastor that bought a vehicle one time, and he had had the vehicle for like 3 years, and it was really kind of a cool vehicle, but he's very busy. He's always doing stuff, and he looked through the owner's manual, and he was looking, just glanced at it, but then as he continued to look through the owner's manual, he realized, wait a minute, there's some things I didn't know about. He didn't know that it had a back windshield wiper on it, and of course, he had been doing all this stuff like trying to do it manually, when he realized that a lot of this stuff would just be done automatically if he had set the settings just right. But you know what? He had never read the manual. So he didn't know. That's kind of like our lives, right? There's a lot of things that we come to question and that we come to find out, how am I going to go through this and how am I going to do this? And if you'd seek the Word of God, the Lord will give you direction. And the Lord will show you things, and He will open up things to your mind. Are you committed to the Word of God? That's the other way that we get into the presence of God. Right here. What does it say about Shabbat? And for each one of the Moedim, Mikre Kodesh, a holy convocation, coming together as a group of people. Keep in mind, I always find this significant. How did the Israelites receive the Torah? The legend has that they went up to Mount Sinai and they stand before the mountain. We'll read about this, or you read about it in Exodus 19, Shemot 19. They're there, and of course the legend has it that the Torah is pronounced, and as it's pronounced, they are there together as a nation. They're there together as a people. That's the context that God gave the Torah to them.